Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SBI Securities Weekly Wrap podcast. So, firstly, let's discuss how the markets have been in the week gone by. The Indian benchmark indices during the week ended higher for the third consecutive week. Favorable global cues, fall in crude oil prices, cool off in US bond yield, soft inflation data, and DIS buying helped market close higher. The drop in US 10-year Treasury yield to below 4.5% after weaker than expected October month US CPI reading at 3.2% favorably impacted the global equity markets. Drop in crude oil prices by nearly 4% during the week owing to inventory pileup in USA and weak economic outlook from China and Eurozone also contributed to the positive investor sentiments. Next week, as the second quarter FY24 result season is now complete, we expect the global cues to drive investor sentiments. Additionally, initial jobless claim data from USA, FOMC minutes of previous Fed meeting, and UK PMI data are expected to be keenly watched during the next week. We believe the market will largely remain a buy on dip with stock-specific action. Talking about the weekly sectoral gainers and losers on BSE, except for the BankX index, all the other sectoral indices ended positive on BSE for the week, with IT, reality, and auto leading the gains, closing up by 5%, 4.8%, and 3.8% respectively week on week. Talking about the weekly Nifty 50 gainers and losers, Eicher Motors, Hero MotoCorp, Coal India, Tech Mahindra, and TCS were the top 5 gainers of Nifty 50, while Axis Bank, Bajaj Finance, SBI, ICICI Bank, and Power Grid Corp were the top 5 losers of the Nifty 50 index during the week. Taking a check on some of the key monitorables, on the liquidity front, both FIS and DIS net bought to the tune of Rs 724 crores and Rs 1580 crores respectively in the cash market for the week. During the week, rupee traded flat at Rs 83.22 per US dollar. Brent crude, as I earlier mentioned, eased to $80.5 per barrel. Moving on to some of the key economic developments during the week, India's retail inflation stood at 4.9% in October, which is down from its 15-month high of 7.4% in July month of 2023, which was led by softer vegetable prices and a favorable base effect. The number has been below the RBI's upper tolerance band of 6% for the second consecutive month, so this was a positive data point for the economy. Indian trade deficit for October month stood at record high of 31.5 billion US dollars, which was led by increased demand ahead of the festival season. India's exports stood at 33.6 billion US dollars, which was up by 6.2% year on year, led by pharmaceuticals, electronics, and engineering goods. Imports stood at 65 billion US dollars, which was up by 12.3% year on year, led by gold imports, which saw a growth of 95.4% on the year on year basis. India's wholesale price index contracted by 0.52% year on year in the month of October. The contraction was primarily due to the high base effect and softer prices of chemicals, textiles, electricity, food products, paper, etc. So, this was a positive data point for the economy. The US Consumer Price Index or CPI slowed to 3.2% year on year in the month of October, which was down from 3.7% in the month of September. On a month-on-month basis, CPI remained unchanged owing primarily to drop in gas prices. The core CPI edged down to a 2-year low of 4% in October from 4.1% in September. Now taking a look on some of the key corporate developments during the week, few remaining companies announced their second quarter FY24 results, among which Grasim Industries Limited reported revenue and PAT growth of 10% and 34.1% year-on-year respectively. The EBITDA margin of the company grew by 330 basis points year-on-year at 20%, so overall positive numbers from Grasim Industries. Manappuram Finance Limited reported net interest income and PAT growth of 25.6% and 36.9% year-on-year respectively. The assets under management of the company grew by 27% year-on-year at Rs 38,949 crores. So overall decent set of numbers from Manappuram Finance. NRB Bearings revenue and PAT grew by 8.3% and 85.6% year-on-year respectively. The EBITDA margin of the company grew by 440 basis points year-on-year at 16.3%, so positive numbers from NRB Bearings as well. Narayana Hrudayalaya Limited reported revenue and PAT growth of 14.3% and 34.2% year-on-year respectively. The EBITDA margin of the company grew by 230 basis points year on year at 23.6%, so healthy set of numbers from Narayana Hrudayalaya as well. Some other companies which were in focus due to the news were Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, as the company received a letter of award worth Rs 311 crores from Central Railways for construction of tunnels and bridges in Madhya Pradesh. There was a negative news for Bajaj Finance Limited during the week, where the company was barred by RBI from lending under its e-com and Insta EMI card products. The restrictions will be imposed until RBI reviews the rectifications of the deficiencies. JSW Infrastructure Limited received a letter of award worth Rs 4,119 crores from the Karnataka Maritime Board for development of an all-weather deep-water greenfield port at Kanni with an initial capacity of 30 MTPA. So this was a positive development for JSW Infrastructure during the week. Brigade Enterprises Limited signed a joint development agreement with Krishna Priya Estates and Micro Labs worth Rs 2,100 crores for development of around 2 million square feet of residential housing spread over 14 acres in Bengaluru. So positive for Brigade Enterprises Limited over the medium term. Hero MotoCorp Limited reported its highest ever festival season sales of more than 14 lakh two-wheeler units in the 32-day period. The company experienced growth of 19% year-on-year, which also surpassed the previous highest retail sales recorded by the company of 12.7 lakh units in the festive season of 2019. So this was a positive development for Hero MotoCorp Limited during the week. So these were some of the key corporate developments during the week. For key corporate actions in next week, kindly refer to our weekly wrap report. The link to view the report is shared in the description box below. This was all about the weekly market podcast. Thank you for listening.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.